Hi guys, and welcome back to another video from Between the Ropes TV. Josh and I were just going to debate about Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith. Is that a pay-per-view fight? As you guys know, it's on Sky. It's going to be on Saturday night in the UK. The fight's going to be in Manchester, but they build it as a pay-per-view fight at £26. Josh, convince me that this is a pay-per-view fight.
I should say it's 1995, just so
1985 is it?
1995, yes, no. And for me, I'm going to say the main event itself isn't, to be fair. I don't think it is. It's a very, very good fight, and I can see why they would be leaning towards putting it on pay-per-view, because we've talked about how last year was a bit bizarre in the fact like Chris Eubank Jr.'s stock grew despite him only fighting back in February against Liam Williams. Obviously, we know about the Conor Benn saga, but his stock rose through that. So I do get in British boxing now, outside of the heavyweights, he's probably our biggest name. That's probably another debate, but for me, he probably is. In terms of social media engagement and profile, for me, he's probably the next biggest name. So
in terms of a crossover as well to casual fans and
exactly,
yeah.
So Liam Smith is then a very big name. For me, and I don't want to get slagged off, but we might do. For me, he's a very big name for trade fans, people who really follow their boxing. Liam Smith's a huge name. However, I do question with Liam Smith, whether it be work or school or whatever, we've all got the people who they keep an eye on it. They'll watch an Anthony Joshua fight, but they're not going to watch a Liam Smith. I think that's fair to say. But I do see why they would have to lean it into being a pay-per-view. However, for me, it's the undercard that makes this a pay-per-view fight. Do you agree with that?
I don't think that the main event's a pay-per-view main event. I think for me, what I'm looking at for a pay-per-view, I'm looking at what titles are on the line. I'm looking at the skill level of both boxers, and what I'm looking at as well is their appeal, their wider appeal to not just trade fans, a crossover appeal to people that might tune in and watch Good Morning Britain and have that debate on it. And that's when I think of my very first pay-per-view that I saw was Lewis and Tyson, and they had that. They had that. Yes, they had the press conference and all that kickoff. But when you compare it to the modern day, you got people like Fury, you got people like Anthony Joshua. You've got people that have got that personality to transcend. I'm not too sure whether we tick all those boxes with this particular fight. However, the undercard, I like your point about the undercard, and just explain just why the undercard probably gives it the edge in giving it a pay-per-view status.
So this is get the best sales patter out, is it? So
who else does it as well as you know, Josh?
You're right, mate. I'm sick of saying we should become promoters. They'd all be absolutely bricking it. But obviously, being serious, it doesn't actually need much selling, does it, as an undercard? Because you've got Richard Riakporhe, who other than Lawrence Okoli, for me, is probably the number 2 cruiserweight in the country at the moment. I'd love to see him, obviously, in with Liam Smith now, but he's probably number 2. And against Glowacki, who, we said it in our preview, he's only lost to Bradis, Usyk, Okoli. So he really is. Teak tough is a phrase you use, and not many fit it more than Krzysztof Glowacki. So it's a really good fight. It's probably, for me, it could headline its own show, whether that be at Ali Pali or possibly even Wembley Arena. It's got all that potential. It's a great, interesting fight for Riakporhe. Can he go to that world level? Because he's probably biggest win Fabio Turchi, maybe, European champion level. But there is absolutely no debate that Glowacki is world level. Yeah. So we're going to get a lot of questions answered about Riakporhe. But also, in fairness to Glowacki, we're talking about how well Riakporhe's ranked with the governing bodies. If Glowacki beats him, Glowacki takes the world title shot. So what's Glowacki got left at 35? We have said, both of us, with the bigger weight divisions, age is less crucial. But at 35, he is still marching on. So he's going to answer questions himself, which I'm excited for. Obviously, we've got Joseph Parker, former heavyweight champion, taking on friend of the channel, Jack Massey, who former IBO champion at cruiserweight, and that's got intrigue because obviously I've been a massive fan of what Andy Lee's brought to Joseph Parker, added with the Morecambe Tyson Fury routes. But what's he got left ultimately? Because I'm a Parker fan, but let's be honest, he took a pasting against Joe Joyce.
He did.
Has he got that hunger to? Because this isn't like beat Jack Massey and he's back in line for a world title. He beats Jack Massey. It's not really a win-win situation for him because, okay, he'll build confidence, but other than that, he's not going to gain anything. He's not going to gain better world rankings because Massey, I rate him. Many people do, and I think it's worth saying again how this bubbling domestic cruiserweight scene. No one was calling Jack Massey's name, even with the IBO title. So he's gone to heavyweight to get those big fights. So fair play to him. But this, for me, doesn't actually do a lot for Joseph Parker other than the confidence, because it's not going to land him a big name at heavyweight. He's still going to be, at best, 3 or 4 fights away from that world title fight. But it's very interesting. And let's be fair, we love a shock. We always like to back the underdog in Britain, don't we, if we're honest? So can Jack Massey actually go and pull off the upset? Because we don't know what Parker's got left. If I'm Massey, I'm taking confidence right now off the pasting he took off Joe Joyce. How much does he really want it? He's earned a few quid. He earned a few quid last time out. Is he now just putting the icing on the cake of the pension pot, or does he actually want that one last run? So Massey's going to be going into it feeling confident, knowing he's got it all to do. You've got Echo Esserman and Chris Congo. Don't really need to say much more than that on that, do you? It's for the IBF European title, but
the British and the Commonwealth as well.
British and Commonwealth as well, but we regularly criticise boxers and promoters for not putting on 50-50 fights. This is a card full of 50-50 fights, and let's be honest, for like Esserman and Congo, although Congo had that loss obviously to Michael McKinson, it's quite early in their career to be taking 50-50 fights. We're not used to it, so it's refreshing. I'm excited for it. Fraser Clark's obviously back out with Espindola. Now, it's exciting to see Fraser Clark. I'll be honest, the opponent for me is just another stepping stone to build on the journey. But I've said on the channel before, I like to say I've watched a fighter's whole journey from debut to wherever that finishing point is. I like to have done that. So I'm still excited for that. And I feel like I've missed a fight out.
Yeah, you haven't, to be honest.
I haven't. Perfect.
So well summarised. But just as a final point,
sorry, Ray. Are we just going to get Ben Shalom when the pay-per-view numbers rack up? Are we getting a cut of that, or how's this going to work?
Well, I'm kind of hoping he doesn't get you on the payroll, because we still need you to do this. You still got a job to do, pal. But just as a final point, though, my argument as well is, does this set a dangerous precedent? Because even at £20, which you and I have had the chats about in our little group, about where you would spend a lot more on a night out, but when we see a decent card where you've got a pretty good domestic clash, are we now looking at automatically thinking this is going to be pay-per-view?
I'm going to say something really controversial, and I expect to get hate for it, but I'm going to say it, and I stand by it. We've both said we can't think back to when there was the last time there was a main event, and in fairness, it applies to a lot of the card as well, where we were tossing and turning, going backwards and forwards on our predictions for it. We've both said off camera, sometimes these previews and get a bit boring because we both go in the same way, and you can tell the cards are too left side heavy. So for me, if pay-per-view at £19.95 is going to get us 50-50 fights up and down the card, where from 6 p.m. on Saturday, my arse is glued to the seat because I don't want to miss a second of a fight, yes, we will see more of it. And personally, as a boxing fan, I'd be happy to pay it, because far too many nights over the last 18 months, 2 years, particularly since we come back from the pandemic, we've been sat, and the last 18 months, me and you have been messaging, and I've spent as much time messaging you as I have been watching the fights. And I'm quite excited that we've got a card. I probably won't touch my phone because I'm engrossed in it and I'm excited about it. So it's probably controversial, but if 20 quid gets us 50-50 fights that we're excited for, I'm all for it.
Well, that's going to be very difficult to argue with. Guys, let us know your views. Our pay-per-views for 50-50 fights here to stay. You've heard it from Josh. You've heard it from myself. Guys, there's plenty more content still to come on the channel, so stay tuned. See you next time.